common mistake I see in English writing is students repeating words, phrases, or ideas way too many times. If your writing is repetitive, it can slow down a reader, make your writing sound boring, and even indicate that you don't have enough knowledge about a topic. Today, we'll be diving into some writing techniques to help reduce repetition and improve your writing. Let's get straight into it. Our first technique is to use synonyms in the right context. Of course, the first place to start is to use synonyms. Not only will this help to expand our vocabulary, but also allow us to communicate our ideas more effectively and as a result, engage our reader better. However, it's not as simple as just using a thesaurus or looking up synonyms for a particular word on the internet. When choosing synonyms, there are a few factors you should consider. We need to think about the purpose of the writing, the audience or reader, and the meaning of the word or phrase in context. When considering the purpose of our writing, we must think, what genre is it? For example, is it a persuasive or opinion essay, a blog post or a letter? Also, is it formal or informal? That will help you choose appropriate synonyms and vocabulary. This is also closely related to the audience or your reader. Who is the piece of writing for? Are you trying to impress a high-stakes test assessor, a university professor or teacher? Maybe you're writing an email to a peer or an announcement to the general public. Whoever your reader is, you must keep them in mind when it comes to your synonyms and word choice. And finally, particular synonyms for a word will have slightly different meanings. If we don't precisely choose the correct synonym, it could make the writing sound less clear and awkward. So, be sure to try the word in context and ask yourself, does it make sense? Take a look at the sentence and how word choice can affect meaning. Technology is a beneficial tool for staying connected to family and friends who live abroad. Here is a list of synonyms for the word beneficial: advantageous, helpful, valuable, favorable, profitable, good, desirable. Let's try to use the word profitable in the sentence. Shall we check it in the context? Technology is a profitable tool for staying connected to family and friends who live abroad. That sounds strange. Profitable is not a precise or accurate word choice for the context of this sentence. Profitable means to make financial gain, which doesn't make sense for what is being said. Instead, let's consider using the synonym valuable. Technology is a valuable tool for staying connected to family and friends who live abroad. This is a much more appropriate word choice, as valuable means something that is special or has a lot of worth, which fits the context of the topic well. It's also a better choice than good or helpful if we are trying to write a more formal essay for a reader who's marking our work. So, as you can see, using synonyms is not as simple as just finding similar words to replace repeated words. We must consider our audience, the purpose of our writing, and the meaning of words in context. Lucky for you, you can work on your knowledge of synonyms right after this video. By clicking the link in the description, you can access our free E2 English quiz and get practice on identifying synonyms in context. Our second technique is to rephrase an important idea. Okay, so we know that repetition means boring writing, which can lead to a low-scoring assignment or essay, but repetition actually has an essential place in our writing. In many essays, we will need to repeat our thesis or opinion over and over again to convince our reader of something or highlight a main idea. Learning how to rephrase an idea that needs to be replicated throughout a text is a highly important skill, especially for particular essay types like opinion essays. If you're writing a persuasive text or opinion essay, or any type of writing where you need to repeat an idea or opinion, you'll have some sort of thesis statement or sentence that states the main idea of a text. Let's take a look at this thesis statement. It is evident that technology is making people less interactive. This type of statement would need to appear at the beginning of your writing, but also again throughout your body paragraphs and then finally in your conclusion. I've seen students often make the mistake of repeating the entire sentence word for word over and over again. Don't do that. Instead, let's use the skill of rephrasing to come up with alternative versions of the sentence that still argues the same idea. We can build on the last skill of using synonyms. Rephrasing takes synonyms to the next level where we need to think about a group of words in a different way. Here's one way to do that. Look at the different phrases in the sentence. It is evident that, technology, and making people less interactive. Let's come up with alternative phrases for each part of our sentence. It is evident that could instead be, it is obvious that, it is clear that, or it is apparent that. Technology could instead be written as devices, social media sites, the internet, technological inventions, the virtual world. And here is the last phrase in the sentence, making people less interactive. Think about what this part of the sentence means and how it could be said in different ways. Driving people to be less social, creating a society that is more socially isolated, disconnecting us from one another, affecting authentic human relationships and communication. There are so many ways we could reimagine, rephrase, and rewrite each part of our sentence. Now we can have new versions of the original thesis statement that are strung together with the different rephrased parts. Have a look at all the different variations we can make. It is obvious that devices are driving people to be less social. It is clear that IT is affecting authentic human relationships and communication. It is apparent that technological inventions are creating a society that is more socially isolated. Using alternative phrases helps us reduce repetition, but can also enrich the description in our writing as well. When we rephrase an important idea, it forces us to be creative and come up with various ways to say something. Our third technique is to reorder sentences. Another form of repetition is when writers have a group of sentences that begin in the same exact way, one after the other. What I mean by that is they not only use the same sentence structure, but also start their sentence with the exact same words. This is a common thing that I see in writing, and it can be fixed with reordering and sentence variation. Here's an example of a paragraph that does this type of repetition. You can see a few sentences that begin in the same way. Feel free to pause the video to read it thoroughly. There are 3 sentences that start with, many people are, or many individuals are, which would cause the reader to become bored and irritated by the repetition, regardless of how great the ideas are. So what should we do about it? The first sentence that begins with, many people are, is a complex sentence. It has a main and a subordinate clause. We can swap the order of these clauses so it reads better. Instead of engaging in the physical world around them, many people are often glued to their cell phones while walking down the street or sitting at a cafe. That's better. The next sentence that starts with, many people are, is a simple sentence. It has one main or independent clause. I'm going to insert a subordinate or dependent clause at the beginning without realizing and change the many people to the pronoun we. Of course, we can't forget to change their to our so it makes sense. Without realizing, we are beginning to prioritize our virtual interactions over in-person connections. That sounds way better. For the final sentence that begins with many individuals are, we can swap the clauses around again to create variation. Let's also omit or take out the word many because we have already used it earlier in the paragraph. Here is the reordered version. By signaling they are not interested in real-life conversations, individuals are socially isolating themselves. Did you notice the improvement? Now read the new and improved paragraph aloud so you can hear how it is more interesting and dynamic to read. Feel free to pause the video. As you just saw, reordering sentences also builds on the skill of sentence variation. You need to know how to write simple, compound, and complex sentences so that it's easier to swap clauses around or add clauses in where necessary. By using this skill, not only are you decreasing repetitive sentence starters, but you're also showcasing your skills with purpose. Our final technique is to use pronouns. This last skill is probably the simplest way to avoid repetition. When we're writing, there will often be key words or key nouns that get repeated. The use of pronouns will make the sentences more concise and easier to read. In some high-stakes English tests, such as IELTS or PTE, this skill is also called referencing because you refer back to the idea without repeating the same word. Here is a list of pronouns that can be used instead of nouns or instead of the names of people or things. This list does not include all pronouns. It just showcases a few common ones. He, she, it, them, they, we, him, her, this, that, these, those. When substituting pronouns for nouns, it's important to choose the right pronoun because an unclear pronoun will make your writing confusing. Look at this sentence, for example. People should consider how much people use technology. If I replace the second people in the sentence with the pronoun we, it would sound awkward. People should consider how much we use technology. The correct pronoun to use here is they. People should consider how much they use technology. That sounds much better. Let's look at one more example together. Let's read this aloud. Technology has both positive and negative consequences because technology can connect us to people far away while also distracting us from real life. To tackle the technology problem, we should consider having a limit on our screen time. Okay, so in the first sentence, the key noun technology has been repeated twice. We can replace the second technology with the pronoun it. The word technology is used again in the beginning of the second sentence. Let's replace the technology with the pronoun this. Let's read the improved version now. Technology has both positive and negative consequences because it can connect us to people far away while also distracting us from real life. To tackle this problem, we should consider having a limit on our screen time. It flows well now, doesn't it? Using pronouns is a simple and effective way to reduce unnecessary repetition in writing. However, we have to remember to always double check that our pronouns agree with the original noun. You can do this by reading your writing aloud to make sure it flows well. Let's recap all the techniques we learned today to reduce repetition in your writing. Here they are once more. Use synonyms in the right context. Rephrase an important idea. Reorder sentences, use pronouns. The more you regularly work on your writing, the more these skills will become a part of your practice. A great place to start is our free E2 English quiz. Don't forget to click the link in the description to access it. As always, we want to hear from you. What areas of English would you like more help with? Let us know in the comment section below and we'll aim to cover it in an upcoming video.